Good day, everybody. It's a beautiful spring afternoon and we've got a few things that we need to get done, but I also want to introduce you guys to some backup I got for the farm. Also, I'm getting ready to add some more stuff to the property here, so more on that. Hey ladies, how's it going? How we doing, Mr. T? What are you guys up to? Now, anybody that knows me also knows that I'm a pretty opportunistic person when it comes to doing certain things. Some stuff I'll wait for the perfect opportunity, and other things, if I think I've got a good opportunity in front of me, I may jump and do something before I'm quite ready for it, knowing that that kind of opportunity may not come again for a long time. Now anyways, before we get to all the stories and stuff, you'll notice that I've got the chickens back in the chickashaw. I finally wrangled them up one night and footage was no good, so excuse you. Anyways, footage was no good, so it's not worth showing. We finally got them in the garden. All of the bedding that I pulled out of their coops, they've been spreading for about 2 days now. They're still trying to get used to it. They're not quite used to laying in the plastic nesting boxes, so they have a tendency to want to scratch out all the straw. And regardless, they're scratching in the garden and fertilizing in the garden, which is what I wanted. Seeing as how we only have about 3 weeks left before our last frost date, this is as good a time as any to get them back in here and let them spend a little bit of time. Now this is, I believe, a 97 John Deere Gator. Having a hard time reading the serial number, so I'm trying to look it up, but I'm pretty sure it's 97 based on what numbers I can read. So my goal in the way that I'm raising my animals involves a lot more labor than just standing up standard paddocks that are not changing. And because of that, I've got a lot of, moving of things to do, and with that, things are getting further and further out from the house. And for the last couple of months, it's been pretty stationary because things are cold, and so carrying food and water back and forth hasn't been the worst thing. But now that the pigs are out on pasture, and soon we'll have chickens out on pasture as well, I'm doing a lot of carrying of feed and water. And when you carry 50-pound and 75-pound bags of feed all over the place, it gets old. So this is hopefully going to help with that. As you can read, this machine is Carolyns Cadillac. And this weekend, I decided to go make a bit of an impulse visit to an estate sale. And this was what I was going to actually take a look at. When I got there, I decided to take a ride, test out, check it out. It's obviously, it's not perfect, but it is a farm vehicle. But after test driving a little bit, I decided, I want to make an offer, and I decided to buy it. Well, the interesting thing is after I got it loaded up, an older lady approached me and asked me if I was the person who bought it, and I told her yes ma'am, I was. And she proceeded to tell me that her name was Carolyn and that this was her baby. And she began to tell me about all the time with her grandkids riding around on the farm there with this. And she was emotional, and of course I can be a bit of an emotional person too. And so she told me a little bit of the history, and I thought that was really neat. And when I first took a look at it, I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into the name, other than I assumed that probably the lady who was selling its name was Carolyn. But it was really, really cool to hear a little bit of the history. And one of the things she said to me multiple times was, now you take care of that. So after we got it home, I got to thinking about what some of that stuff means. And it, my kids will end up spending a lot of time on this growing up. At least that's the plan. And of course I told her, well, I'm going to do what I can to, take care of it. And like I said, it is a farm vehicle, so maybe it's not a whole lot to look at, and it's not perfect. There's, rust and broken plastic and, damage here or there, but I think that's what gives it character. So it probably goes without saying, we're going to call the Gator Carolyn. This is our Carolyn. Now, obviously, I've got the tractor and the four-wheeler. The challenge is the tractor is not at all convenient to drive around just for, typical chores. And the four-wheeler, you can't really effectively carry a 5-gallon bucket or feed not effectively on the four-wheeler like that one. Originally, I had a plan to get my old trailer. I had a 6x10 trailer that I was gonna kind of deck out and use as just a around the farm here trailer, hook it up behind the four-wheeler and use that to transport stuff. Unfortunately, a few months ago, that thing got stolen, and well, it is what it is. This is gonna be that. And another thing is, Dad was talking to me, and he's got another smaller trailer. I think we're gonna actually bring it over and set it up and use that with this as well. But now we got something to help effectively take feed and water around the property. And that's gonna be really important because we're adding animals to the farm. Now, obviously, I've talked about it a few times, going back and forth on what I wanna raise, when I'm gonna do it, how I'm gonna do it, and all of those sort of things. But as I said earlier in the video, I can be a bit of a person of opportunity. And well, an opportunity has come up. Now, the next thing we're actually adding to the farm isn't anything new. It's actually another Kune pig. And it's actually one of the siblings or cousins to the ones I have now. Now, the reason we're adding him is the man that I bought the pigs from originally has decided that he wants to get focused more on the sheep, which I think is a great idea, just to kind of narrow your focus down and makes things a little bit easier to manage. Well, sheep is one of the things that I'd been considering, and he and I had talked about that. Since he's getting out of the pigs, he asked if I wanted to take on one more. I thought, sure, 4 to 5, it's not really gonna change a whole lot. I've got a little bit more space here to be able to do that micromanaging and moving, and that'll free up some space for him to be able to do more with the sheep. Now, because he's getting out of the pigs, that actually opens up an opportunity potentially to buy a breeding pair. So that's something I've still been mulling over. Haven't fully committed yet, but I'm thinking about it. Now, the reason I'm considering it is I think I have enough interest and desire from my immediate family and extended family to be able to actually provide a lot just without having to even go outside of my inner circle, which is a good thing, because you got to be able to make a little bit of money to help pay for the stuff. Otherwise, it's purely a hobby, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm not doing this just for the hobby. I'm doing this for, you know, my family's benefit, and also to make a little extra money, because I think it's important to, you know, try to make everything you do meaningful in a way that can help in more than one area. The other reason why I'm thinking about taking advantage of it is it's not easy necessarily to find a good, you know, pair, and Kunis are not exactly super popular around here. I'm very interested in it because I want a pasture pig. I want a heritage pastured pig, not a huge feeder pig. What's up, pigs? How we doing today? I brought you guys some fresh water. You are getting pretty big. How you feel about adding to your ranks? More bacon and sausage. Maybe a little bit more entertainment for you guys in the meantime. And at its very basics, that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't have to carry it all the way from up there. Now, the pig isn't the only planned animal change on the farm. And while some of the other livestock might be out of the question, something that I've been planning and thinking about and studying on for quite some time now is adding a Livestock Guardian Dog to the farm. Now, I know that includes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of training to have an effective dog. And that's why it's something that I've been working on for quite a while. Now, the way I see it, a Livestock Guardian Dog is effectively an employee on the farm. And so it's up to me as the quote-unquote owner of said farm to make sure that she's properly trained. Now, obviously, there'll be a whole lot more on that soon. She ought to be arriving probably in the next week or so to the farm, and her name will be Lucille. Now, back on the topic of Carolyn here, Joints might be a little rusty. She might not be as young as she used to be, but she's got on a brand new pair of dance shoes, and I think she's ready to handle quite a bit more. As far as taking care of it, there's a couple of things I've already done. One of the things that I noticed was that the glove box was already cracked, and so it didn't really hold well. So I've already fixed that. It's functional. It's not pretty, but it's functional. Two-part epoxy works wonders, especially when you layer in, you know, washers and plastic and almost like you're doing fiberglass. But I think it'll be fine. And then secondly, something that was driving me absolutely crazy is when you go to take off, you know, it tends to shake. So it's basically a lawnmower engine in this thing. And so it shakes when it takes off. And there was some plastic on it that was rattling. So we put a little bit of rubber gasket in there and no more rattle. Now, honestly, for my purposes, the most pressing thing that needs to be done is probably replacing this bed. It's pretty significantly rusted out. And not the end of the world. These rubber mats, they're just mud flapped, but they do great keeping it covered for the time being. But fortunately, Dad works at a track trailer shop, so access to old scrap metal is not a problem. So at some point, we'll do a video on fixing this bed up. And all said and done, I want to thank you, Carolyn, if you happen to ever watch this, for sharing the story and sharing a little bit of the legacy. And hopefully that'll live on. For everybody else, thanks for watching. Have a good day, and we'll catch you next time.